If you've been anywhere near a road lately, you've probably noticed something. Electric cars are everywhere. You see all the models of Tesla, even the really expensive Model S. You see the new electric Fords like the Mustang Mach-E and the Ford Lightning. And even less popular electrical cars like the Chevy Bolt are becoming popular. And it seems like the future is electric and everyone's just gonna take it and accept it like the good little people they are. Right? Well, not so fast. Despite the hype, EVs still face a ton of backlash. But before we dive into the hate, let's rewind a little bit and talk about some history. Believe it or not, electric cars aren't new. In fact, they were some of the first automobiles and they were even newer than gasoline-powered cars. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, they were actually more popular than gasoline cars because of quite simple reasons. Reasons that even exist until today, which are they were quiet, clean, and easy to drive. Back then, it required a lot of work to work on a gasoline-powered car. See, the thing is, back in the day, people who used to own a car were called motorists because essentially you had to have an understanding of motors and mechanics to actually operate a car. You had to crank the shaft and you had to pull the string and push a few buttons to get the electricals in and all of that stuff. But then electrical cars made it easy. It was only until the Standard Oil Company founded by John D. Rockefeller made oil so accessible that the Ford Model T was released and with cheap gasoline-powered cars were popularized. And with the Ford Model T, EVs were relegated to the sidelines for almost a century. Well, actually more than a century. Fast forward to today, gas-powered cars hold about only 63% of the global market share. This is down 78% from 2 years, indicating a significant shift towards EV. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. It is down almost 80% in just 2 years. We went from EV cars being only about 10% of all the cars on the road to now being almost 40% on the cars on the road. We are about to see a split 50-50 between EV-powered cars and gas-powered cars. The largest markets including China, Europe, and the USA. China, of course, being the greatest in EV. But here's the thing, not everyone's on board. A lot of people are scared. So why is there so much hate for electrical powered cars, especially for us car enthusiasts?
Love that sound. And all you lot growing up today with your electric cars, you're never gonna hear it.
At the end of the day, we like cars. We like cars that have soul, right? And this is the first problem when it comes to EV cars, and the reason why a lot of people hate EV cars is that they lack feel. The whole purpose of a car enthusiast driving a car is hearing the engine and then shifting the gears and pressing the pedals and feeling the torque and feeling the turbo spool up, everything. All of these factors are missing in an EV. Not only that, but the lack of differentiation is also really apparent. I mean, if someone put a blindfold on me and they put me in a BYD EV and then a Tesla EV and then a BMW EV, I probably wouldn't tell the difference because they all feel the same. They all run on the same motors, the same drivetrains, the same everything. They all have the same engineering behind them. But then you look at gas-powered cars where the V4 is different than the V6, different than the V8, each one has its own engine. American V8s are standard, pretty nice, and German V8s are complicated. You can literally feel the difference in every single gas-powered car, but that's not the case with EVs. Not only that, but a striking problem of EVs is range anxiety. This is a big one because a lot of people, especially in the United States, go for long trips. While charging infrastructure is improving, it's still not as widespread as gas stations. And on top of that, the charging times are also horrendous. Now, I get it, still we haven't advanced enough as a society, I guess, to come up with electrical chargers that can charge up Teslas from 0 to 100 in like 20 minutes. But for something to take like 1 hour to charge is just kind of not practical at all. Now, the thing is with EVs, it's about price too. The thing is, these companies, they release EVs at really high prices, especially in the United States like Tesla, and then they depreciate by so much right after their first year. You're immediately losing money when buying an EV. And to my final point is about the environmental concerns. As much as, they like to advocate for EV and that EV cars are going to save the planets, everybody can make the argument that the mining of lithium is also very destructive to our Earth. Now, I've been talking about EVs for like 4 minutes and why I hate them, but there's still a bright side for EVs, and I think there's a place for EVs in a car enthusiast's heart. A lot of people like to undermine the instant torque that you get with an EV. The first experience I had with an EV was when I was like in a park, and in these like huge parks, they have like these golf carts you can just drive and go everywhere. I remember just flooring the gas pedal, I mean, sorry, the EV pedal, you could call it, and just feeling the torque go absolutely crazy. It was unreal. Like, I'm making it sound like I'm in a Tesla Model S Plaid, but it genuinely felt like something else. It was much different than a gas-powered pedal. And it was so quiet and smooth and effortless doing that. I mean, if I did that flooring in any other gas-powered vehicle, I would hear a lot of noise. It had to take time. It had to take time to get the torque to build up. The turbo also would need to fuel all of that. And one final point about EVs is the fact that they're so much cheaper to run, and also they're pretty reliable. Right now, the expectation by most car manufacturers for EVs is the fact that an EV battery will easily last you over 600,000 miles. Now, I know, the manufacturers are saying this, so it might be a ballpark, but you can easily have an EV last over 300,000 miles, no problem. And it's because of one reason: lack of parts. An EV doesn't even have the parts that an internal combustion engine car have. You don't have an exhaust system, a massive cooling system with radiators and hoses, all the parts in the motor itself that can go bad, the starters, the alternators, the spark plugs, the fuel pumps. There's so many things that can go wrong with an internal combustion vehicle that simply isn't present in an EV. As the famous saying goes, prevention is better than reparation. So the long-term maintenance is cheaper and it is more reliable. Now, in my honest opinion, I can definitely see electrical cars being 100% the future. I mean, they already are the future in a lot of countries. Countries that are developing, especially new developing countries, like, for example, some countries in Africa, some countries in East Asia, India, all of these developing countries, they're all adapting EV really fast. And a lot of people need to realize that EVs at its heart, they're not meant to be enthusiast targeted cars. EV cars at their heart, they are simply supposed to be cars for the average commuter. And for their purpose, I see them as the perfect job. Don't get me wrong, I love gas-powered vehicles. Hell yeah. I would hate, driving around in a performance-oriented EV. It simply doesn't have the feel, like I said. But imagine you're just a guy that's trying to get from point A to point B in the winter, let's say. You have to start your engine up, which is going to take a long time because of the cold. The car needs to heat up for like, I don't know, a straight 5 minutes unless it breaks. There are just so many factors that could go wrong with an internal combustion engine for the average commuter. Well, in an EV, it's so simple. Disengage handbrake, you go. That's it. It's drive and rear. That's literally all there is. Now, would I take, for example, a Tesla over a Corolla hybrid, let's say? I honestly wouldn't, and that's for one reason. Charging stations. In my country, charging infrastructure is very, very weak, so that's just dismissed. But what about the wider world here? Because every time I see a post about a Tesla S or a Tesla, whatever, or a BYD, or even a BMW electric, which has been getting a lot of hate, I just simply don't understand why. For the average person, this is a perfect car. And it's going to be 10 times more reliable too. Like, even if you take the most reliable cars of all time, like the Toyota, they'll still probably last less than an electrical car in the long run. Please don't kill me over what I just said. Please don't kill me. I'm joking. But at the end of the day, this is a channel for car enthusiasts. Now, what does it mean for us car enthusiasts? Will we ever adapt to EV? And I think the answer is quite simple. No. Here's the thing. For car enthusiasts, a car is not seen the same like other people see cars. A normal person, I'd like to call them, would look at a car and say, okay, this is a bunch of metal on four wheels and it gets you from point A to point B and it does its job. You ask a car enthusiast to look at any car and they can give you a long, extensive review of everything about how the car feels, the car steers, what the car does, and practicality, and everything. We see cars as a form of art. We see cars as a form of pleasure, freedom. And the thing is, all of these things are missing with an EV. There's no such thing as engine feel when you're in an EV. There's no such thing as steering feel when you're in an EV. They're all the exact same, all just a bunch of electrical motors on four cars. Sorry, four cars, I meant four tires. And as much as EV cars like to try. For example, the Hyundai Ioniq it is, or the Kia whatever, or the Rimac. The Rimac Nevera honestly is an outlier. You know, that's a hyper car. It's supposed to be really fast and exclusive. But no matter how hard they try, EVs will never be for the car enthusiasts ever. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Triple A Car Guy out.